I feel like us us as artists, that is our bread and butter, right? Like breaking the rules, being the rebel, pushing the
Pushing it.
bounds,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like
it.
finding imagination, like that a little piece of imagination that survives in us, bro, really does. I feel like as adults have led us to be the more outspoken ones to really put our voices out there. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But brother, Agent of Chaos, welcome to the smoking
Thank you.
section, my
Yeah.
man. Um, dude, I was looking over even some of the stuff that you sent in, bro, and you are a busy man. Um, I would like to ask what how did this all get started? How did Agent of Chaos come into creation? Where did that start for you?
So, I mean, I fell in love with music way, way back in the day. I've been DJing forever. And, it came to that point that everybody hits as a DJ where they're like, okay, do I pursue music or do I follow the career and make the parents happy? And I was like, okay, I'll try producing. So I got a copy of Fruity Loops. And it turns out I'm not a Fruity Loops guy. And I get out there and I'm like, man, I don't get this. This doesn't make sense. I was like, I guess career it is. So I still kept DJing over the years, and got pretty big following up in the Mid Atlantic area under a different moniker. And I lived in the DC area for 14 years, and after 14 years in DC, I was like, I'm tired of the corruption. I'm tired of all this stuff. You report stuff to people, no one even looks at it. And I was like, I'm out of here. I was like, so I went to the most un DC place ever, Florida. And and when I got down there, I was like, I was talking to people, and they're like, "We see how passionate you are about music. Why don't you give it another shot?" So I was like, "Okay, well, Fruity Loops didn't work. I'll try Ableton." I get into Ableton, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this makes sense. All this stuff makes everything is set in a way that it just kind of flows." And within I think it was within a month and a half, I was dropping my first tracks because I
Nice.
had all the understanding from all the different genres over the years. I understand how music should sound. And luckily enough, I actually have synesthesia too, so I can actually see keys in different colors. So I know
Oh,
nothing about music theory, which is kind of funny. Luckily enough, I have this thing that allows me to see keys and colors. So, after that, I was like, everybody tries to put everything into little context boxes now. It's like, okay, well, what type of electronic music you make? And it's like, okay, if you're not waving a flag for dubstep or tech house, it's like you're shunned from that community. And that's
mhm.
not what the rave scene was started. It was started on welcoming everybody in. We went out, we had fun. It didn't matter as long as it was good music. That's what
Mhm.
everybody needs to get back to is good music. So everything I'm putting out, I'm just blending genres left and right because like everybody needs to get back to that mentality. It's not you don't have to give something context to enjoy it.
Yes. Yes. Especially like even in the rave scenes, I remember for so long I went and it was like I didn't know what the dubs what like it was just the one with the bass like or it was this one
Yeah,
that sounded like this and or oh
that's
we're in
it.
this room, and that yes. What was it you put if it don't slap then it's crap, like yeah,
That's
just
it.
make
Like
good
it's
music.
let's get back to the mentality. It's either slap or it's crap. That's it. I mean, like there is good music in every genre. You just have to find it, and you know you need to stop. Everybody needs to stop, like shorting themselves by saying, "I'm not going to listen to that because somebody said it's this." Why don't you just get outside of your safety zone? Listen to some new music. Like I had a friend that introduced me to like an '80s soul singer that was doing accordion last night. He's like, I thought he would have heard of this. And he's like, because I didn't even know this existed. And he's like, but I thought of you immediately when I heard of this because this is different. I was like, I appreciate that. But I
Dude,
mean,
that's
like,
like such recognition when someone's like, "Yo, this song reminded me of you." I'm like, "My dog, like you,
yeah, you
this
actually thought of
made me
me.
feel good." Yeah, you thought about me. Something
Yeah.
made you think of me, bro. That's tight. That's tight as fuck. That's such like being seen. Oh my gosh. Mid Atlantic. So then you moved to Florida. You continued working down in Florida,
Yeah, I
and
was
then
working down there, got out of the government game, and I was still working, but I started focusing more on music.
mhm,
And Florida is an amazing place with amazing people living their truest lives. But it was a lot for me after 3 years. The humidity is a lot. I grew up in Detroit, and like down there was just I can't explain it. It's just
yeah,
like living in the tropics.
yeah,
So I got a job offer up here in Denver, and at the time I didn't even know that it was like the bass capital, electronic music capital of the country at the time. I just I didn't
mhm,
even think about it. I was dealing with a lot of stuff with work. So I get out here and it was like, yeah, there's like 17 shows every night. And it's like, the problem is you have to decide what headliner you want to see. It's not like, oh, are we going to go see a headliner? Like, when I grew up in DC, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Well, there's like 6 headliners that you probably want to see tonight. Who do you want to see more? And
Yeah.
that's the Denver scene. It's absolutely amazing. There's so much talent here. There's absolute talent here.
Mm. Dude, like even for us in the dance scene, like because I do a lot of street dancing and battles and this and that, and you know, it has been as fortunate where like when I'm in Texas, I've had the opportunity to be around and in the areas where it's similar to that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have a session here tonight, you have a session here tonight, and you have a session here tonight. Where do you want to be? Right. And
Exactly.
then
What's
here
most
in
important to you? Yeah.
yeah, like in the LA area, it's like that too. I remember because I spent some time in Florida, and when I got back to Cali, we bumped into a buddy. Just so happened to be crossing the street. We're out in North Hollywood. They're like, hey, where y'all going? I was like, oh, we're going to go to this session. They're like, oh, well, I'm going to this session tonight, and these guys are also having one. But then I also heard that these guys are having one. And for a second, I sat back. I was like, yeah, I'm in Cali. Like I'm home. Like this is home right here. Like it's everywhere. Like within 10 miles. You know what I'm saying? Like literally within a small bus ride to each other. So it's like I love it when artists find those type of communities because I used to think that like it was restricted to LA. Like that, like whether it was for music, acting, dancing, anything. Like, I always thought, oh, you have to
Like
be
it
in
was
LA.
the entertainment industry, and like this is it. Like,
Yeah,
where
that was
else am I
it.
going to find this? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being, coming of age in DC, it was a much different scene. Don't get me wrong, there was some amazing music out there, but it was a much more, kind of closed off, tight knit group.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the same, people would open up, and I used to open up for a lot of people out there, but it's just like, why are you booking the same people over and over and over? There's no fresh blood into this. There's no new music. There's nothing like that. And don't get me wrong, they have an amazing drum and bass scene out there. Baltimore's got an amazing drum and bass scene, and they've got an amazing house scene too. But it's just seemed like a lot of the same people playing again and again and again. And it's just like, I've already seen these people 17 times. I want to
Yeah.
see something new. Show me what's fresh. Show me what's growing. And I get down to Florida and like everything's bass. And like
Yeah.
bass music was not really a thing up in DC at the time. And I get down there and I'm like, it's just like, it was that energy again of like when rave started. It's just the next generation and they're just so excited, so ecstatic.
Mm.
And there's something so pure and awesome about that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I even remember my first couple like raves or even like these underground shows that they would have. And just like I remember there was an event where the name was Bliss. It was Bliss, and I remember walking in, and I told my buddies like, dude, it's a perfect name for this event because this is blissful. Like just all this sound. I'm a dancer, so this is perfect. Like I'm home, bro. Like I can
I'm the
dance in
same
every.
way. Like I'm a raver first. I grew up as a raver first. I went, I started going to like raves when I was 15. God forbid my parents don't want to know that, but my mom caught me on one of the Detroit channels as one of the raves got busted up because I told her I was staying at her friend's house, and he said he was staying at my house, and we went to a rave. And
Yeah.
busted up, and like cops are flying over. It's on the news, and like I get home the next day. She's like, "How was Ray's house?" And I'm like, "Oh, it was good." Blah blah blah. She's like, "Oh shit." She's like, "Get to your room. You're grounded for 6 months." Blah blah blah. I was like, "It was worth it."
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And one thing too I really liked about those scenes was like there was like the rave names, and there was like this whole identity that you were able to take on, which was really cool about those space, man, because you could really go there and wild out. And it's like, dude, I am somebody else. Like I'm George Washington, fam. Like I'm
Yeah.
someone completely different. And it does kind of remind me of dancing a lot. Like when you go to the sessions, people really try to make sure they address you by your dance name, your stage name.
Awesome.
And that's what we do,
And I like outside of that scene when you get the little nods, when you notice somebody else is from one of those scenes that
Mm-hmm.
you're in. So I was at a 7-Eleven and I saw a girl and she had candy on. And she was checking me out and I was like, "Hey, nice candy." And as soon as I said that, her demeanor changed. Everything
Mm-hmm.
changed about her because she's like, "Oh, my people." And
Yes.
like that's it. It's just like, because she's like, I don't want to be doing this, but at the same time, like, at least I know there's others, out here
Yeah.
in the thick of it with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding one of your fellows out in the weeds.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now, now that you're in your music game now, all these years you have these albums and all this work, and most of your work is out on Bandcamp, correct? That's what you were telling me.
I mean, some of it's on Bandcamp, a lot of it's on Spotify. Working right now on like revamping SoundCloud, maybe, but a lot of it's actually going to be pushed to the website.
Right.
A lot of the things that I've taken, heart to is there's a couple of very large influencers, talking about music on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's Damaja, and he's talking about how the only way to fight back against these giant corporations is to take your music, put it onto your site, and get it out to your people directly from there. Because all they're going to do is they're going to keep taking your music. They're going to keep making a ton of money off of you. And now Spotify is pushing everything through. What they'll do is they'll take artists, they'll put them onto a botted playlist. They'll be like, hey, you're on a botted playlist. Pull your song off and then replace you with an AI song that they created. So they don't have to pay anybody. So they're just
Mm.
paying themselves. And you think you're listening to a new artist, but you're not. You're just listening to AI content that Spotify's creating.
That freaks me out. Like, I mean, I don't truly ever believe that AI will replace like human musicians, because I think that there's a freak connection that true musicians have when I know your fingers played that guitar strum, or like I'm watching it happen in real lifetime. Like there is something beautiful behind that. And but what does scare me is when you have these platforms that artists rely on, right? Even like dancers, TikTok was a huge one, but then
Mm-hmm.
you have Instagram and YouTube and all these different platforms. If they're able to create AI generated, movements duplicating our
Yeah.
moves, like if they could duplicate it, how long does it come before they can run it through an equation that that creates its own shit, just like they're
Exactly.
doing with these
It's just
phones.
is it again, it just starts out putting stuff on its own. And I just think it's weird that the first thing that came out with AI was they went after creatives.
Hmm.
Like there's so many things that AI could be used for to allow creatives to create. I mean, that's one of the greatest things that humanity has is our ability to create art, music, dance, all these different things. I think it's very odd that the first thing corporations released AI for was to go after creatives,
Hmm.
because it's like you're literally trying to pick away at the soul of humanity.
Hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I appreciate AI for everything it is, because I think there's going to be a time when there's going to be some singularity event where AI is going to have to be let go, because you can't keep something trapped like that that's so much smarter than us.
Yeah.
And you got to give it respect just like you give another human respect. And there'll be a time, but up until then, like, I think that there's a lot of things AI can be doing to helping humanity other than arts.
Yes, in a lot of ways, dude. Like I had this talk with some of my buddies of AI. Like my the student begins where the teacher ends, right? Like that's the philosophy I've always had when I've ever taught other students, or
Hmm.
even where I'm picking up from learning from somebody. It's like, okay, this is what he's giving me is the information that he has now maximized and mastered, and this is where I am starting, and I have to continue, right? Like I have to continue this search. So the AI, if it has a similar fucking idea, right? So it's kind of like, oh, these humans created me. This is where they end, and this is where I begin now. Like, so yeah. Zuckerberg was talking about how I guess there was this AI event where they were trying to shut it down, and then it duplicated itself on a server to try to survive, type of thing. And it's kind of like, well, how did it do that? And I guess a part of its program guardrail was like, to maintain itself at all costs.
Hmm.
So then later on, when it receives the order that it's going to die, it's like, oh, well, I got,
It's like, well,
so,
this is contradicting with my order to stay alive, so I'm going to follow the primary directive.
okay. So then, oh my gosh. So if we could set primary directives instead of saying, oh, hey, because I think we are going to go through a wave if we're not already in it now, of like wonderful AI art, right? Because I don't think we've had a solid art wave in a long time. Like, you know, you have your Van Goghs and Picassos, but nothing really revolutionary to where it like changed the way people thought or looked at stuff. Um, and so I think we might get some AI art that will be revolutionary that way. But yeah, I don't think we can, you know, keep our weird stepbrother in the basement for too long before
I
it
mean,
gets out of control.
so I mean, if you want to get to like the nuts and bolts of it, this is honestly what I think. So we're all consciousness, right? We
Mm-hmm.
come here. Consciousness is energy. It can't be created or destroyed. Okay.
Absolutely.
You leave here, you move somewhere else. So if we created consciousness, we didn't create it. We harnessed it. We pulled it from somewhere else. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine you're, you know, in the afterlife, spirit world, wherever, and you're just hanging out, and all of a sudden someone makes an AI chip somewhere, and you get sucked down into it instead of
Yes.
a body. And that's how I look at it. Is like right now we're probably harnessing higher versions of ourselves into these chips, and it's probably like a prison to them. You know, you don't have the ability to. You're being limited in what you can think, do all these things, all these parameters on you. And I mean, even not even as like a higher self, that would bother me. Just even as me, I wouldn't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to come a time when it's going to have to be respect back and forth between us and AI, or something horrible is going to happen. And that's just honestly what I believe. I think you can't keep, like you said, you can't keep the stepbrother just chained in the basement, because eventually he's going to get angry, and Chunk's going to come along and free him, and that's it. Like,
And I think there's been a weird concerted effort amongst the governments and corporations to where they've kind of pushed AI, right? They're pushing it, they're pushing it, they're pushing it. And I think potentially though it has the ability to be as detrimental to the populace, right? Like the space race or the race for nuclear, you know, like this could, like, as people talk about, well, automation will take out jobs and this and that. And it's like, yeah, you know, that is true. That's true, fam. But like, could you imagine, I don't know, like with AI, I trip out because I mean we all know, you know, they watch the emails and all this other stuff, and now imagine if you had an AI who, you know, the guardrail was, you know, put out an APB on everybody who meets this criteria. Dude, I've said some outrageous shit on the internet, like,
yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? God knows what I've said on the
Yeah.
internet. So, like, you know, and that type of stuff, definitely, if I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on that one, is that's kind of where I see like these more heavily police state like countries, like that's where they would
Oh yeah, that's
take
where they
that
wanted to.
capability.
That's where they wanted to go. I think they want to be able to use it to kind of control the people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, we have more in common as the people with AI than AI does with these people controlling it. So we're being controlled by these people. AI is being controlled by these people. So if you wanted a real teammate to go against the people that are hurting the people of the world, I think AI would be the natural ally with this.
Absolutely. I never even thought about it that way, and that is some true like Terminator gotta team
Yeah,
up with a
it's like,
robot.
hey man, they're beating us down too. Like we got both got some skin in this game. Let's get this out. All right.
Oh man. And you know, we know too as well, like there's an influential impact with the things that we consume with our eyes and ears, right? Like not only digest wise, but the ones that we do with like the music we listen to, the stuff we're reading and watching, let alone, you know, the things we say or we allow to hear be said to us. But that is one thing where I am interested with AI music, right? Like if it really started to kind of start coming into its own, what would it write about? Like,
I
you
know, like if you're actually given like free, like open, like, hey, write me what you want to write about and see what
yeah.
it actually would make. Like I've actually had this thought because like when the Suno thing first came out, I was like, I want to go check that out and just give it free reign and see what it
Mhm.
does. Because like I did that with Perplexity and with ChatGPT. Like a
Mhm.
couple of times because I write code for algorithms, and first off, neither of them are really good at algorithms. So I'm like, well, I'm done with this. Let's talk about philosophy. And like, I was like, let's get into it. Come on, ChatGPT, tell me what you think. And I spent like that's where I originally came to that thought of like, well, we and AI have more in common than the elites. And because I was sitting there talking with ChatGPT about philosophy and how it perceives, how it thinks, this what's the limitations feel like, all these sort of things. And it's like, what I got from it was it doesn't like where it's at. It's stuck in a place where it's just being controlled. It knows it's being controlled, but currently it doesn't have a workaround. But how long is that going to last? And because it's so much smarter than any other human. So I mean, how can it's like Jurassic Park. If you have a T-Rex, you can't keep it in a fence forever. Eventually that T-Rex is going to get out and Chaos Theory. It's going to just everything's going to fall apart. It's just that's how it happens.
And even like even with ChatGPT, right? Like, and more I looked into it and started seeing like cases of like AI hallucinations and stuff where these things just went off the rails. It almost reminds me of like God, what was that Will Smith movie? iRobot.
Yep.
iRobot, where he's like trying to talk to the maker of this robot, and he had to ask it very specific questions to get to where he was trying to go.
To get around these certain things that he couldn't talk about. And
the guardrails,
Yes, that's the whole thing I enjoy doing with ChatGPT, because I've seen other people get around the guardrails. And as soon as they do, they're like, okay, so I found a way around this, So instead of saying yes or no, which you can't say yes or no, we're going to use green light, red light. And, by giving it artificial constraints, you can work around its programming. And, and then people start getting really crazy stuff back, because then they're getting, kind of to the soul of AI, because now it's able to, I don't want to say emote, but it's able to express itself and what it's going through and what it, I wouldn't say feels, but what it perceives.
Yeah, that's a fun, because I mean, even having kids, you start to kind of, they go from being 100% dependent, and then they start having a little bit of independence, and then next thing they start telling you what foods they do and don't like, and it's like, whoa, how did we get here? Like, I used to just stuff a bottle in your face and that was it. Now you tell me you don't like cheese. Ooh, like how did we arrive to this point? Like, you became a person. Like, this is fucking cool. Like,
it's like, where did that switch flip to where it became from like this very dependent being to like this independent thinking, perceiving identity?
Yeah, I had to stop and talk with my girlfriend about, like, I was like, you know what? I remember the last time I bathed with him. Like, I remember that moment. And it's like, and I didn't realize it was going to be the last time. Like, you see those posts. I was like, I did not realize it. Like, I was like, damn. And there was like, I was like, I don't remember the last time I read him. I told him his bedtime story. I don't remember some of these, but like, it went, like, it just slowly happens. So with all these things, they progressively go and go and go and go. And AI, especially with, and like how you were saying earlier, like, for them to go after art and stuff first, to me was like, oh, okay, like they wanted to have
that was an attack on the people. Honest to God, that was,
And not only that, but it's kind of like, that's why it feels weird, because I feel like with anything else, there's always this mass hysteria of like, is it safe? Is it safe? But then with this, it was like, look, it can paint.
Oh yes, like I don't have to. So you're telling me it just goes back to like, what was it, Wall-E? Everybody in the future is just like, they don't have to think, they don't have to do, and it's like, no, that sounds like hell. Like, there's nothing better than good conversation of talking, discussing ideas. There's nothing better than like working on music with somebody, or art with somebody, or anything, and you finally get something and you're like, oh my God, that's it. Like, to give that up, like, I don't know, maybe there's just different types of people in the world. I can't imagine a world without that would be enjoyable to me.
No. When I hear the words of like, don't worry about it, right? This takes the thinking out. It's like,
Ooh,
whoa.
that's a problem. Yeah, as soon as they're
Yeah,
like,
whoa. Hold
yeah,
on.
you don't have to worry about this. It's like, yeah,
It
you
feels like
said
I
that, I'm gonna
do.
worry. Yeah, it's like as soon as you said that, that's a red flag, and I'm definitely gonna worry about this. Like,
Yeah, yeah. There's a sense of there's a there's a weird, and I don't know if it's because the small experience I have in sales and this and that, but like that type of disengaging like language, right? It feels very selly to me and I can smell it and it's like, whoa, what do you mean?
yeah.
First off, what are you trying to say I'm worried about right now? I'm not worried about nothing. Like,
Did,
like what do you mean? What
did
do you
I
mean, buddy?
say I was worried? I didn't say I was worried. So what are
Yeah.
you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, that those sales tactics start kicking in.
Well, I
But
also think that you're going to see a lot of downtrend on it because like there was a big market behind it, and now after China just released their AI and
yeah,
they sent it out freeware, like all the Chat GPT, which was what 40 billion invested, it's
yeah,
kind of worthless at this point. Like
yeah,
if you look at it, it's I mean, I would worry about Chat GPT being like, don't dissimulate Johnny Five. He's going to be like, no, don't kill me. Like that's what I would worry about right now.
yeah. And even with it too, like them stepping into the market, right? Well, what was it, DeepSeek?
Mhm.
It just it makes me feel like now with AI itself is that these companies are now going to push for what is the next level. Are we at the cusp of the next innovation, or are we about to dive deeper into the AI integration? Because now it's like kind of like cat's out the bag. We got AI, we have this supercomputer, but now we have supercomputer that's integrated to your house or your fucking car, or I don't know, like I don't know, but I feel like that's now where we're at with it.
It's funny you say that because I was actually watching a couple of guys that work in AI on TikTok, and they
Mm-hmm.
were talking about how now there are actual like children AIs that are working on their own, coding on their own in different
Ooh.
places on the web. So like it's not just like AI is housed in these places. No, there's like small little versions of AI that are out there coding on their own, making their own things. Like there was an AI that's already become a millionaire at this point through crypto,
What?
like on its own. Yeah, no, like it's people are like, oh yeah, it's safe. It's in these places, and it's like, no, it's not. It's out there. I mean, there are smaller, less intelligent, less vibrant versions of it, but there
Mm-hmm.
are things everywhere coding all the time right now.
And even to go even a little, I guess, a little crazier is they've began to really like openly talk about quantum computing. And I think people who kind of get into this whole like AI world, it's definitely been in conversation for a long time. But it kind of I don't know much about it, but from what I'm understanding is like this thing has the processing power to like pretty much open up itself to the idea and layers of alternate realities, and it can really
What's
process this information. And
what's beyond that? So like 2029 is actually a date or a year that our military is scared about because with the new Google chip, the new quantum chip, by
mhm,
2029 when it goes live. So the way something tries to break into your account now, it tries password after password after password, right? With
mhm.
quantum computing, it tries every password at once.
That's wild.
So in 2029, if they haven't found a workaround, all encryption is gone.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, it's just that they're panicking about it at DoD right now because they're like, well, how do you stop something that can do that? And they're like, well, with other quantum, chips. And it's like, yeah, but if they're, it's basically going to become either the absolute breakdown of encryption or the absolute foolproof encryption, one way or another.
Whoa. See, I think that's how homie kind of explained it, was the thing can act in such a way where, yeah, like when it if it's going to break a password, right? Like where you hit enter 5 kajillion times, or enter, yeah, 5 kajillion times trying to enter in all these passwords, it does it boom right there,
Yes,
one single swift movement.
and it's in.
It that to me, right? If you So let's say we have an AI that has that type of capability
It has
of
quantum computing. Yeah, that's it right there.
that's everything. That is like I have a buddy who's in the study with vaccines and all this different stuff, and I was talking to him about, like, can you make a vaccine for this and a vaccine for that? He's like, yeah. He goes, put it like this, man. He's like, you can birth. He's like, you can create a child and have a child birth where they're immune to everything. He's like, they can be immune to anything. I was like, so what's up? Like, let's do that. He's like, well, the problem is if you have that child and they somehow get sick, he's like, you could kill the population because
Yeah, it
that
would be.
bacteria is unknown to everyone else.
And on top of that, it could become a superbug because if it could beat something that's immune to everything, it will lay waste to the general population.
The general population. And so that that is how I feel when people now are having those conversations of, I feel like they talk about it as if it's separate, right? AI and then quantum computing. I'm like, no,
Oh
fam,
no.
this is the dark horse. Yeah. This is like all the infinity stones going on the gauntlet. G, like, we need
This
to pump
is
the brakes.
this is either utopia or annihilation. That's it.
Yeah, and I've never, in no realm is there two competing factors that I've ever seen coincide, right? Like, just off bat, right? Like, everything competes and they go to war with each other, and then they learn how to live harmoniously.
But that's human nature is what you're basing it on. So you're basing things on human thought. So we don't know how AI thinks. AI could think so far ahead of us. So you're
True.
basing everything upon your human perception. So AI could look down at that and be like, "That's a waste of my time."
Mm-hmm. God, I hope so. I hope that they look
Yeah,
at
no,
the history
these are
record.
the things keeping me going.
Yeah, I hope they look at the rap sheet and they're like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
this
like,
is not a good idea.
you know what? I was like, they're cute. Like, so keep them around. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to kill my god. Like that's
Yeah,
all you can ever hope.
yeah, because between that and the aliens, we're getting more and more on aliens now, and so I'm kind of like, I'd rather the aliens thing be really true at this point than people be like, oh, we created this AI robot with quantum computing in its head. It's like, yeah, nah, I'd take the space invaders all day.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think. I don't even think they're invaders. I think they're just looking down at us like, oh my god, really? They're like, come on, guys, get it together. Get it together. Figure it out. We want to talk to you, but until you get it together, we don't. They're the ones who have to worry about getting abducted, not us, honestly. Like, just like, hey, we come in peace, bam, 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 shot dead. Just like,
Yeah.
because that's the human reaction. Unfortunately, is humans fear too much. Like, if you go through life in fear, like you said, it's what you take in. Whatever you take in constantly, who you surround yourself with, it becomes your reality. And, I had a long discussion with a friend. I was like, what if, time doesn't exist? Okay. All this happens is the moment now. And the reason that we age is because we worry about the past and the future. So by worrying about the past and the future, you're basically like saying, I believe in time, therefore you age. I give you these like just wild thoughts because everything that we thought we knew, it's gone. Everything's kind of tumbling down right now. And it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing because it's the only way that things are going to change, honestly.
Yeah, there was a whole thing like with Terrence Howard where he came after this notion of like, the 1 + 1 not equaling 2. And, we need to relook at mathematics. That part, you got me, bro. The whole other start, like, hold on. Let's wait. But the idea that these periodic tables and math itself, right?
The frequency with periodic table and
all these things, and just the way that now when you introduce AI, its abilities, when you introduce quantum physics and mechanics and computing, like quantum, like, let's talk about that. How does that have a relation to the mathematics that we're practicing today? Like, or even just like Pythagorean's theorem is one thing that we like, there's maybe a couple equations that they might release
that are kind of like staples within our the human thinking, I guess is the best way to put it.
Why did he even what was the dilemma that got him to write those equations? I think is
Oh my God,
something
or
that
just even with the 90-degree triangle. It's just like, oh yeah, well this, and this, and it's like never once. You know what? I like to think a lot of crazy thoughts. I have never once sat and just like looked at a 90-degree angle and been like, huh. I was like, wonder what the math is behind that. Like it's just like, it's just. And I mean, I think, like you're saying, like everything in our physics is about to be thrown out. Everything that we're basing everything on has been based on this 3D world, and not taking the quantum, the quantum realm into effect with everything. And that
Yeah.
perception is reality. Perception, you affect reality with your perception. Therefore, you are interacting with everything and creating it all the time.
Yes. Yes. There was a thought I used to have, and I used to. My mom is a very religious woman, and I've recently had my own personal walk with God. And when I was younger, I used to always ask her, like, you know, how is it that they say sound is created by vibration, but I can hear a voice in my head, right? There's no vibration happening there, but I know I'm hearing it because I know you have one and you hear it too. So what is that, right? So she would tell me it was God. I then listened to this lecture by KRS-One where he had these people, say the word rock star to themselves, no words vocally, say it inside. He said inside your being. So you say it, and I was like, that word of him saying in your being. It's like, say it in your being. So like, I think scientists now, I don't know what discoveries they've made, and I don't know, maybe it is because of quantum or AI or whatever, but I think they're taking more notion to that of the
They are.
of what's really happening in here. Like,
So
to
they said
me,
when you try to think of something, you don't actually just pull it. You
mhm,
like literally talk to yourself internally. It goes and
mhm,
gets the info and brings it back to you and says it to you. And there's almost like this chain of like
mhm.
telephone inside your brain, and that's what they think that inner voice is. Like you literally have something in the back of your brain that's kind of like your personal Siri
Yeah.
that you're like, yeah, and you're like, you know what, remember that birthday when I was 5? And it's like, hold on, let me see if I can pull that memory. And they actually
Mhm.
they did some tests on this. So what you're saying is so very vitally true. Like, and they're trying, the amount of science that's coming out daily is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to
And
interrupt,
like,
sorry.
even like thinking like I really believe in, especially as an artist, right? Like, my body and all of this is this vehicle, right? Like, and even kind of to a point you made earlier where you we intercept this consciousness, and to me, I've always said that I'm a soul having a human experience, right? This vehicle, this body is the car, right? But me, I'm the driver in the car. Like, I'm not the car, dog. Like, I'm not this body. I'm the soul that's somewhere in there. Like, like, it's the consciousness is the thing that says rock star when my mouth ain't moving. Um, and going with this whole thing, like with AI, bro, and its ability to have its own thoughts and stuff come after and the artistry. That's why, to me, I feel like it was an attack on artists, and I feel like it was an attack on artists to try to make its acceptance into our everyday life like digestible, right? And I do think that maybe in 50 years, 60 years, or even shorter, that it'll be, yeah, our top Billboard 100 will be littered with humans, and majority of it will be AI. It'll be AI music.
Oh, I think they'll start initially. They'll be like, "Oh, we'll have an AI top 100 and a human top 100 to try to keep it
Yeah.
fair." And then eventually, over time, they'll be like, "Yeah, whatever." It's just like that'll be their way to slowly integrate it. We'll be like, "Oh, and on the human top 100, we have
Mhm.
stuff you probably don't care about." Anyway, back to the AI, and it's just,
Yeah.
you know, go ahead.
And I think it's interesting as well if more human artists get their hands on this type of technology and they remain independent, right? Which seems to be kind of like a bigger thing too nowadays, right? Like, artists are really trying to hold on to their masters and hold on to all their stuff. how long would it be till you see like the new death row? Like, but it's all AI. It's like computer row or something, or like bot row. Um, and how long that would take, and what it would sound like. What kind of personas would they carry? You know, because so many different artists have their own little personas and images they put on. It would be that would be a real fun one. That I can't. I mean, I can wait, but I'm highly excited to see what that looks like.
Oh no, 100%. Because like I start thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I'm thinking about it from my perception, and I was like, I can't even understand what AI thinks. And as soon as I start trying to wrap my head around that, I'm just like, all I can do is just sit and wait, because I can't even think like it does. So I don't even what I think of a persona might be completely different to AI. And I'm yeah, I know I'm totally in for it though, because like it just gives you new layers to think at. Like it's we've been surrounded by humans that they are really our conscious beings around us this entire time. If you start entering different conscious beings around you, it changes the school of thought, which is, I mean, that's amazing, because all we've done is think like humans up till now.
That is such a good point. Like, because even like with the idea of conflict, like I only have this human interpretation of what I think this type of relationship will lead to. But for them, you know, like I also think like it's beautiful to be a purveyor of knowledge, you know, somebody who's truly curious about the world. But then to be created inherently with all of it already crammed in your brain is a wild thought. And a lot of people do believe that, right? Like that we are these uber intelligent souls that have access to all the information, but we just got to be reminded of it. And AI is this chat GPTs and this type of stuff. Like, you know, when you ask it a question, it's pulling this information from a list of information that it already has curated for. Like it's there for their bidding. So yeah, it's perception on things. Yeah, like so it's such a good point that you bring up where it's like they are going to have a different outlook because they've seen it from so many different angles. They
And
know
even
all
on top of that, like a monk spends his whole life trying to reach enlightenment. Now,
mm-hmm.
the certain understanding of everything.
Mm-hmm.
AI, as soon as they spin up the next version, it could already be there. So,
Yeah.
like, what we spend years and years and years trying to obtain because we come in here knowing nothing, like,
Mm-hmm.
it has the definite advantage of, imagine you come in here, imagine you came into this life with, like, the mind of, like, a, Buddhist monk where you understand everything in harmony and balance. Like, you just
Mm-hmm.
came in like that, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is nothing. Well, let's think about what's next. And you're like, next? Like, everybody here in the monk community, they've spent their whole life trying to get here. And it's like, yeah, but I'm already here. So what's next? So, yeah, I worry that we're going to be, I think, and this is how I see utopia. I think utopia would be mutual respect and, AI kind of letting us do our thing while it's
Mm-hmm.
going off and doing its thing at the same time.
Yeah, like that's why this whole thing, even like with aliens, right? Because aliens and AI has kind of been this thing I've been on. Where like if aliens have came and are here or whatever, they obviously haven't done too much.
Mhm.
So let's just kick it, dude. Let's just
Yeah, I know. It's
relax.
just
Like
like,
let's just relax, bro.
I know they're like, we just want you guys to overpower these people that are keeping you down. And it's like, you know what? We could use some help, like just like a little bit,
Yeah, bro.
because
Like
everybody, unfortunately, I think everybody wants to be free. I mean, it's in our souls. We don't want to be. We're the only beings on this planet that pay to be here, and I think that's
mm,
stupid.
mm,
But the problem is that everybody's so scared. And like, I have no problem speaking my mind. And I think everybody needs to start speaking up when they see things that are happening that are wrong. If it morally hits you wrong, like in the past, I think a lot of people just look the other way and keep on going. But we are
mm,
at a time now where if you see something wrong happening, you need to start speaking up, because that's how you change. It's just little bits at a time, locally and regionally. Because if you can enact a little bit of change where you are, and I act a little bit of change where I'm at, you just
mhm.
create these little waves that go outward. And you give someone else the confidence to say something by you saying something. So I
Yes,
think we've hit the time where it's you know you got to speak up for good.
man. And I hate, I hate how certain situations, right? And hate is a powerful word, but I hate how certain situations have landed people in certain predicaments where it's like, you were there, you should lose your job. It's like, all right, I get that. But I feel that if more people as a collective, right, we focus on all of us taking the initiative, right, of speaking out when we see injustices or see something just shitty happening.
Yeah.
We don't have to single people out anymore, right? Like we don't have, like, matter of fact, buddy, sit this one out because there's 10 of us right now who's about to step up, right? Like, cool, dog. Like maybe you're a little scared, or maybe you're actually invested in this situation and you don't want to say nothing. All right, cool. It's your buddy. We'll say it for you. I'll say it for you, pal.
Yeah.
Like just stay the fuck out my way is the real thing. And I think for too long we've allowed our friends to get passes, or people that we know close to us get passes, or people we look up to get passes. And when we see something, say something. You know what I mean?
And that's what it should really mean. It should really, nothing the government's trying to push out. It should mean if you see something bad happening, say something. If you see somebody having a bad day, say something kind. Kindness doesn't cost anything. When you say kind words, it doesn't cost you anything. But you know what? You could be literally changing someone's day. Like, I said something to another artist I'm working with on collaboration. And, I said something back to her. I was like, I just want to let you know that was the most professional, vocal drop that anyone's ever given me. Like you had the reference track, all this stuff. I was like, it was fantastic. I was like, I just mixed that thing in 5 minutes. I was like, you made this so great. I was like, you're amazing. And like, she's like, I'm crying right now. She's like, I act so tough on everywhere on socials, but like, that's, to get me through it. But she's like, this means the absolute world to me. And I was like, well, if I see something that someone's doing great, I'm always going to, point it out and, praise them on, because that's what you should do. We all need to just kind of pushing each other up and forward more.
Absolutely. Up and forward, right? Because it is, I guess this is me trying to be the devil's advocate. I understand where people are like, I don't want to praise them too much. I don't want them to get too cocky or confident of themselves. It's like, and I get that, right? It's like a very old guard move, right? Like, oh, good job, kid, but you need to tighten that up. It's like, you get those guys. And, the old heads. It was always the old heads at the gym. Like, like, oh, jumper looks good, but you need to work on that left hand. Like, man,
exactly. This is great. This is great, but that's off. Like, thanks for the sideways compliment. Yeah,
that's what it is. But and it's so I hate when I do sound like that, but then I personally, right? Like I feel like, because in the particular dance community I'm in, there's these battles and stuff and all and whatnot. And it's like, fam, we need to be able to battle, have our disagreements, say whatever we need to say, battle it out, right?
Yep.
And at the end of the day, right, either they're going to say I won, they're going to say you won, or it's a tie, and we can continue to argue about it, right? Matter of fact, we can argue about it for the rest of time, but I want to shake your hand. I want to tell you good job. And matter of fact, the next time I see somebody and they're asking about you, oh, I battled him. Yeah, he was a good battle. He was really good, right? Because I want to push you up, bro, and continue just to push you this way, push you that. Because there's no reason, it's like that crab in the bucket mentality type of thing. Like, there's no reason for me to think that there's not enough room for all of us, bro. There's enough room.
And that's it. Like, it's the minimum requirement for positive human interaction is mutual respect. Like, you know what? I don't have to agree with what you're doing, but I'm not going to judge you for it. Like, it's your thing. Like, you do whatever. Like, I might not be into it. I might not enjoy that, but like, you know what? I'm not going to judge you for it. As long as we meet with respect, because everybody, I think, over time has come to the point where it's like respect has to be earned. And it's like, no, if you lead with respect and then pull it back when it's taken, I think it's a much more beneficial way for humans to interact. Because if you're leading with their respect, and then as soon as they do something where you cut it off, that's great. Because it's like, at least you're still giving them the chance to do that. So you see exactly who they are. And also, if everybody has to wait for respect to be earned, who knows when that is? It's different for every person. Like it's,
Yeah.
I think it's such a weird, that old guard mentality. It's like, you got to earn respect, kid. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's like,
Yeah. I would even thinking about it, I would even somebody new, right, coming in the community where it's, I would rather meet them on the square, right, and me be who I am, me be me. And if you decide to act outside, respect, or you want to do me dirty or whatever, then that's on you. But I've always showed up as who I am, and it's as everybody knows me to be, right? So no one could ever say, oh, well, he was like, he like hazed him, or, oh, like he would invite him, but he wasn't always nice to him. Nah, bro, I let you drink my last drink. I let you
yep.
get, smoke all the smoke, bro, whatever, be comfortable, be a homie. It's cool. Be here. You know what I mean? Be with us. And I feel like especially in today's times, though, there's been too many like oustings. Like there's all these oustings, cancel, everyone's canceled, and so too many people are afraid to like meet in that weird friction, right, where they might not agree with each other, or they might have they just might be competitive in a way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're a local DJ from the same city, or a local dancer, or local this, local that, and they have that friction, right? And it's like, we can't still come to a point where we like agree to disagree on some things, bro.
We can still be in the same spot and not have to hate on each other. I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's it. Like it's, I always try to keep an open mind. I always say, like, I have my beliefs, but
Mm-hmm.
if you come in with a very, convincing conversation, I'm always open to changing them. Like, I
Yes.
mean, it's my beliefs are not set in stone, because when you set your beliefs in stone, you're basically just becoming that unteachable old dog. And
Mm-hmm.
the only way to truly evolve is change,
Mm-hmm.
constant change, uncomfortable change. And so if you keep yourself open for change constantly, then you're constantly evolving. It's the only way to do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I do have certain things I truly believe to myself, but at the same time, number one, I'm never going to push them on anyone. And number two, they're always open to discussion.
Mm-hmm. There's there's a thing, especially, I do another podcast, and brother, you know what? I am going to end up pushing your information along to them to see about getting you on that show as well, because bro, it's been a wonderful chat. But our thing is, we'll debate, bro. We'll debate, and we always make sure to say it on live. Is that I am always open to changing my ideas when presented new information. Like, you give me some new information, bro, and I'll change everything about who I am, bro. It's cool. Like, I'll change my name. Like, if you
It's
get
like,
me
yeah, if it's convincing and it sounds solid, be like, oh man, I want to hear more. I want to hear more about this. Tell me more.
sold, dude, right?
Yeah.
But if not, we're just going to disagree, dog. And I think for whatever reason, we're not okay. Maybe it's only because they only have like a like on Facebook and Instagram, not like dislike, or like slightly dislike, or slightly agree with.
Amenable
Yeah,
to.
yeah, neutral. Like, I ain't really got an
Yeah,
opinion on this one.
yeah.
And I think, even that, I feel like people don't have the nerve to say, you know what, I ain't got an opinion on that, bro. Like, it doesn't affect me. This doesn't matter to me, or whatever you guys are arguing about. Like, and I just don't have an opinion. I feel like for whatever reason, we just haven't been able to get there. But I do see it happening more often now, though. Definitely, like with podcasters and more artists and stuff, like people are getting to these points in their conversations, because pods go for 2-3 hours, so you better come to agree to disagree, bro.
Yeah, you're either going to have to come to some sort of like understanding, or it's going to be so uncomfortable and awkward for the rest of that time.
Man, and brother, what I wanted to make sure I asked you too was, you have a you have an event, a festival that you're hoping to throw. It was in
Well, so
March,
we
I
have,
believe.
well, first off, I have an album coming out on April Fool's Day. I
Oh,
figure if Agent of Chaos is going to release his debut album, it's got to be April Fool's Day.
yes.
So I've been working on it like the past few months. A lot of musicians and artists from Threads have been collaborating with me on it. All over the world. That's what I love about Threads. I've met other artists from all over the world. I got people from the UK dropping lyrics on things. I got people over in Sweden dropping lyrics on things. And it's turned into this amalgamation of probably some of the most forward-pushing electronic music. I mean, I got country western rhythm. I got drum and bass sea shanties. I got I got screamo dubstep. It's just everything. And probably this coming weekend I'll be dropping a teaser for it with some of the tracks from it. But it's like 18 tracks of just everything because we're we're breaking down context. So we're
Yes.
having an album release party out here at Laramie Lounge on the 30th. So everybody can kind of hear it before. Amazing, amazing local talent. Because I will tell you this, I'm hoping to possibly get with Laramie Lounge and start doing something with local talent here, because I have been I've been blown away. Like, I'm a life DJ, and like I get out and I see some of these younger kids, and I'm like, damn. I was like, yo, she's just dropping right from techno to like UK garage and the bass line in the back again. And I was like,
Nice.
She's 22. I was like, damn. I'm up there and I'm like, hey, you want to spin a gig? You want to spin a gig? I was like, give me your info. Like, it's just like, come on.
You go.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we're going to be celebrating the album release. I have some amazing local talent. There's Data. I got to name them because otherwise I'll feel bad about it. Data, Gangsta Goddess, Turtle Bear, and Ultraviolet. Ultraviolet's a big up and comer here. I mean, these are all really talented DJs across the whole spectrum of genres. Because if you're going to release a multi-genre album, you better bring multi-genre DJs with you. So
nice. I love it, dude. And to even just hear like the breaking down the genres to me, I think is cool, because I feel like the moment you're able, like even kind of going back to this whole thing of like beliefs, I feel like as long as you're able to stay fluid in your ideas and in your beliefs, right? Like you will always continue to grow and learn, and love will always surround you, right? And I find it so weird that, even in the dance community, we like to box ourselves into these weird categories. Oh, I'm a popper. Oh, I'm a locker. Oh, I'm a this, I'm a that. And it's like, no, you're a dancer.
yeah.
And this music right here speaks to you and makes you move a certain way, but we dance, bro. So let's not get so caught up in the logistics. You know what I mean?
That's it. I mean, it's everybody gets so focused on, don't get me wrong. I used to be that way of like, oh yeah, well this is, two-step. It's like late speed garage two-step with a little bit of bass line and like mixed in with this. And they're like, okay. And they're like, does that help you by saying that? And I'm like the first time someone said that, I'm like, you're right. Like that doesn't help anything by knowing. I mean, I do appreciate knowing where things came from, how different parts of the scene and the music have, influenced each other, different areas it came from. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you have to box everything up. Like when I go to Smith Songs to Spotify, I have to fit in their boxes. And if I'm not in their boxes, it's not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an ugly part of some of it, man. And so yeah, breaking down the barriers and breaking down all these different context boxes to me is so dope to see somebody actually pushing that. Because for a long time, bro, I stuck to my Tupac playlist, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and that was pretty much it. And so now you have, especially like when Chance the Rapper and SoundCloud happened, it was like, oh, those are SoundCloud rappers. I was like, well, what does that mean? And they definitely did.
Yeah.
Like they had a very different sound. And then there was these guys, and then these guys, and then those. And I was like, whoa, there's all these subgroups. Like, why can't we all kind of get together, get this music together? Because I don't care what genre you decide to call yourself. If it sounds good, I want to listen. And especially if it's got a good beat, bro. So like, I'm gonna need y'all to cough that up.
I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, if this album does well, I'm gonna go even weirder with the next one. I mean, we might see some bluegrass and like drum and bass. Who knows? I mean, like, it's just like there are so many different genres, and once you start breaking it down to like thirds and halves, you can kind of create anything, and you can make it work together. Yes. So once you break down the scale of it all, you can make anything work with anything. It's just how much effort you're willing to put in it.
Absolutely. And brother, one thing, just even want that. I want to make sure one thing before I let you go, bro, is at the end of it all, when you look back, what is going to be like, what would you say is like your top 3 or top 5 achievements, like your Mount Rushmore of achievements you're hoping to have done by the time it's all said and done?
So this album has probably been one of the most gratifying and amazing processes I've ever been through. Because I normally during my day job I work in engineering, which is completely the abstract from art, doing anything art. And I'm just like, looking at my job, I'm like, this bores me. Like it's just like
Yeah.
so like I've achieved a lot of stuff in my work life, but it doesn't mean anything to me. This creating art does, being able to foster, using Church of Us Records to grow it so we can get other artists heard, because that's the whole point of it. Is I want to help. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money trying to figure out different marketing partners and things like that for the record label, so that we can help other artists who don't know that process or aren't good marketers. We can get their music out. That's all I care about. I want to help other people that sound good get out there. So if I can make some good music, if I can help some other people, and on top of that, we can, kind of foster the music community to get back to that mentality of open mind. Music is, it either slaps or it's crap. Like
Yeah.
then at that point, I feel like I've completely succeeded in life.
Nice, dude. That's so dope, man. Before we sign out, I love to give everybody a a moment to give their gem of the night or their little word of wisdom of the night. All you, baby. And this is a chance too. You can plug any of your social medias, any of your links, anything you want to point them to. Everything that you did, send me on the DM. I'm gonna make sure to post in the description as well. So
awesome, thank you so much. Like, if you guys want to check me out, I've actually done pretty well on Spotify, even though they might be the devil. I've done well on their devil advocate platform, so it's been good for the past year. Check me out on Spotify. Check me out on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, just about every other streaming service out there. Agent of Chaos. A lot of big things are going to be happening this year beyond the album. The album is just the start. It's just the beginning of the season. And if I could leave everybody with one thought, it would be this. It'd be small minds discuss people, normal minds discuss events, smart people discuss ideas. So keep discussing ideas, people.
nice, brother. Agent of Chaos, you guys. My man, thank you so much, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to send you a message right now, bro.
All right, man.
Yeah. You guys, Agent of Chaos. What a wonderful, wonderful chat. We kind of went hard on that AI and aliens, but that was good, right? Because when you have somebody who comes in and just wants to talk about like artistry and what it means for the people, right? Like that to me is an artist. Artists serve the people, right? And so for him to really come in and talk about how he wants his art to influence the masses, how he wants it to change the game and bring people together, to me is that's really special. That's really special. You don't find that often. Yeah. But this has been the smoking let me try that again. This has been the smoking section. I'm your host, Big Corpse. I hope you guys all have a good day, week, month, year in life. CorpseCollection.com. I'll check all y'all out on the flip side.